Goedemiddag, as we say in the Netherlands. Good afternoon. This is veenendaal classique. The fourth race in the Lotto Cycling Cup, and the only one in the Netherlands, actually. We did have the Ronde van der Rente part of this program, but they decided to step away from the Lotto Cycling Cup. So only one race left in the Netherlands, and that is this one in the town of Veenendaal, where for, well, one of the first weekends of the year, actually, we have a little bit of sunshine. So it's time to have a wine and some bitterballen, as the Dutch snack is, on the terrace. We did have some youth races earlier today, and this is our palmares, and we can see the name of Dylan Groenewegen no less than 4 times. He wants to go for number 5 today, brought himself a pretty strong team. Jaco Alula with Durbridge, Maas, O'Brien, Blake Quick, Edelmar Reinders and Sabu Grimay. So, yeah, watch out there for Dylan Groenewegen. But it will by no means be an easy one, because we do have some other fast man here on the roster. So, yeah, I already kind of said that we will most likely see a bunch sprint. The Netherlands is pretty flat, as you know. This is the situation in the Lotto Cycling Cup. Milan Menten, he's not here. He was racing on a Thursday in Wallonie. He will be racing tomorrow in the Antwerp Port Epic. And also Hugo Hofstetter is not here. And Bora Hansgrohe, well, they are not here at all. We will see quite a few of the riders we saw on Thursday. And then with the addition of many, well, all of the Dutch continental teams. It's a Saturday market here in Veenendaal, and that means that there's a lot of people about for the team presentation. And of course that means seeing your mates again. The young fans there, always great to see. Bas Tietema, the YouTube sensation. Everybody knows Bas Tietema, but he has a strong team here with Martijn Budding as their fast sprinter. Smiling on the podium, finally he is back to speed, as he says himself, after juggling team management and being a rider. Timothy Dupont, he won a stage in the Tour of Greece, in the Hellas Tour a couple of weeks ago, the sprinter of Tartaletto Isorex in the distinctive yellow and black jerseys. A man to look out for. Timothy Dupont, very experienced rider. 5th last year. Of course, the strawberry season is upon us as well, in the Netherlands as it is probably in the UK. The Q36.5 riders are here again with the addition of Matteo Moschetti, so that is really cool to see. It's so much fun just having this presentation. People are just going about their Saturday market run and have the race here with Juri Havik, the world champion, and a man who is yeah, on his way to prepare for Paris, most likely in the Omnium. Arvid de Klein, of course, also a fast sprinter to look out for the Tudor Pro Cycling team. And look at the people who have gathered to welcome the team. They're here with Michael Zeilaert, Arvid de Klein and Rick Pluimers, the Dutch riders, with Swiss national champion Robin Froidevaux, Sebastian Kolze, Tom Boli and Peter Kellerman. Those are the riders for the Tudor Pro Cycling team. And yeah, Arvid de Klein, he is a fast rider to look out for today. And that same goes, of course, for Giacomo Nisolo of the Israel team, Israel Premier Tech team. He didn't really get to sprinting on Thursday. He was kind of boxed in there. Did have a top 10 place, but of course that's not what he rides for. Itamar Einhorn with him there as well, the national champion of Israel. This is Lotto Destiny with Australian rider Jared Drisners. We have Josh Giddings there, normally for the development team, racing here with the elite squad. Jacopo Guarnieri, Branko Huis, Gianluca Polowitz, Jarne van der Paar and Michael Schwartzman are the riders for the Belgian team. A mixed team of their World Tour riders and their development team riders. Another pro team is Bingo Wallonie Bruxelles. on the podium, and another World Tour team is Intermarché Circus Vanti with Mike Teunissen there, also with cyclocross riders Gerben Kuipers and Thijs Aerts. Both are here, the cyclocross riders of the team. And another World Tour team here with the man with the impressive tattoos, Sam Welsford. A great spring season for him, but this is his first race back after Paris-Roubaix, and that was on the 9th of April. Didn't really prove to be a problem on Thursday for the winner of Circuit de Wallonie. So let's see what Sam Welsford can do today against Dylan Groenewegen. Arke Samsic are here with David Dekker. There he is. He had to abandon the Giro due to a crash, but of course he was second in the early, I think it was the second, first stage was of course a time trial on the second stage. So another rider to look out for. And Nasser Bouhanni, will luck be on his side finally this year? He had so many crashes and injuries and illnesses that he hasn't raced all that much, Nasser Bouhanni. Opposite the Koenig, another World Tour team with Maurice Ballerstedt, Robert Gijs, Jakob Mareczko. He was already on the podium here before. No, he was fourth actually for last year. Jonas Rickaert, Taminiau, David van der Poel, and the former under-23 world champion in cyclocross, Joran Wieseure. There he is in the middle. And of course, the team with the number one, and that is Team Jaco Alula. There he is, Dylan Groenewegen. Has a strong lead out here with Blake Quick, with Elmar Reinders, Callan O'Brien, Jan Maas, Luke Durbridge, and Sabu Grimay, the 7 riders there of Tristan Hofman, sports director at Team Jaco Alula. No Cavendish bananas, but Del Monte. Cavendish is actually a banana. Look it up on the internet. I am not lying. And then we are off for our race today with Bart Voskamp, the former Dutch professional of Team TVM. You might remember him as our race director. 152 riders on the start line. Most of them, you will not be surprised, are Dutch, because, we have a lot of the Dutch continental teams here on the start line. We're going to do 5 laps around Veenendaal and around the Lek River region. Actually, this is the Nederrijn, and this is our course. It looks like we have some Stelvio-like climbs there in the course, but if you look at the other axes, it's actually 52 meters. That is the Grebbeberg, and the second climb is called Paardenveld. A flat race in the Netherlands, but this is one of the very few places where we actually have some elevation in the north of the country. Of course, in Limburg we have a little bit more, and that is all due to geology and the Ice Age. Maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. First, let me introduce myself. My name is José Bain, and with me today is Ian Field. Ian, the profile of today's race was a little bit deceptive, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love it when flat races make out that there's some pretty big climbs in the race by scaling down the axes. But it should be an interesting race nonetheless. The wind is blowing. There are some exposed parts to this course, but there are also, as we see on this section, some high kind of forests and buildings along the way, so should protect the riders on some parts of the course. But hopefully we get some action where a team maybe goes to the front and tries to split things up. As I said, the wind is quite strong but is dying off as the day goes on. But 9 times out of 10 this race ends in a sprint finish, and that's what we're expecting today.
Yeah, especially since we have quite a few teams interested in a sprint. This man, he is going on a little bit of an adventure. This is the Grebbeberg, and on the left side we find the War Memorial Cemetery on the Grebbeberg. We have just passed one of the climbs on the course today in Veenendaal. It's called the Grebbeberg. It's 52 meters high, and it was the scene of one, or actually the biggest battle of the Second World War in the Netherlands. The Netherlands were not actually prepared for the Second World War in the invasion of Germany. In the First World War, they had remained neutral, and they had high hopes. The Queen and the government had high hopes that they could repeat that in the Second World War. So their army was not really up to standard. So when the Germans invaded the country on the 10th of May 1940, there was a 4-day battle, including the bombardment of Rotterdam. But the most fierce fighting actually took place here on the Grebbeberg. But after 4 days, they had to surrender, and on the 15th of May, the Netherlands were officially occupied by Germany. 800 people on the cemetery we just passed, 799 soldiers and 1 civilian. Initially, it was a mixed cemetery just after the battle, but later casualties and military men from around the country were buried there. Unfortunately, we have a crash here with Itamar Einhorn, the national champion of Israel. And more riders there on the tarmac. It's always really, really bad to see. With 186 is Brent van der Kerkhoven of the Tarteletto team. We also have Matt Bostock here, also involved in that crash of the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team. 155 is Rens Tulner. Yeah, we haven't seen, Ian Field, what happened in the crash, but we do know that the Netherlands, oh yes, there is a lot of road furniture, and it looked like somebody tried to hop that traffic island or something.
I think potentially it's one of those that were just going over a speed bump. And yeah, it's one of those, if you're not gripping the bars as tight as possible, and a little bit of lapse of concentration, and your hand can slip off. And yeah, if you're in the middle of the bunch, as we see, it brings down a whole load of riders. It's a real nasty one because it comes as such a shock. You're just not prepared for it, and all of a sudden your hands slipped off the bars, and down you go. It looked like that. At least it was one of the many speed bumps that we're going to see on the course today. I read through the road book yesterday, and every other word was dreadful. So yeah, one of those things riders have to be wary of in these Dutch races is the road furniture.
Well, really sad to see Matt Bostock involved in this crash. Of course, he's a fast man to the line, the British rider of Bolton Equities Black Spoke. They do have Rory Townsend as well, but Matt could have been the dedicated sprinter, or at least the lead-out man for the team today.
He's certainly one of the fast guys within that team, and I think between him and Townsend, they would have perhaps spoken during the race who felt a little bit better. But as we see Intermarché Circus Wanty, as we hit the Badenveld climb, so the second climb on this circuit, it's not big, it's not long, but it is a potential launch pad for teams just to whittle things down ever so slightly, perhaps get rid of a few riders that are feeling the pace of this race already, as we see them going pretty hard up this one.
Yeah, like you said, it's pretty short, but it's also quite a while out from the finish line. If this was in the finale, it would of course be a different situation, but we still have about 7 kilometers, no, even longer than that, about 10 kilometers to go to the finish from this part here.
Yeah, interesting that they feel the need to take it up this early and line things out. I don't think anyone's really going to be caught out from this one, but you never know. It's been quite a fast but relaxed pace within the peloton so far. So if one of the favourites or the favourites teams have slipped back after that feed zone and after that crash, perhaps this is a chance to put another team on the back foot and make them chase and, yeah, kind of expend some energy that they wouldn't want to do before that final lap.
We can see we have just over an hour of racing to go, 46.5 kilometers. Our local lap is 33.9. We're going to do it 5 times. The road book was a little bit ambiguous in the total distance. I tried it to add it up, Ian, and 5 laps of 33.9 was, well, not exactly what the road book said. We have 166.2 or either 175.8 as the total distance of our race. There's 2 indications in the road book as to how far this race actually is. Interesting that.
Seems to be the case quite often for, not these kind of smaller races, not the biggest races on the calendar, that sometimes there's some differences between road books and information out there. I've written down 175.8, so
and
we will
I have
see.
166.2. It doesn't really matter as long as the number of kilometers on the top left of your screen is the correct number, and that is true because we just did the second climb. We are on the outskirts of Wageningen, and you might know that that is the place where the current Women's World Champion lives, Annemiek van Vleuten. She trains quite often in this region. We're in the middle of the country, in the province of Utrecht, and actually not that far from where the Vuelta started last year. We're racing some of the same climbs that we did on the second stage of La Vuelta 2022. It's a nice, lush, green country. We've had copious amounts of rain this spring season. Actually, April was the wettest April in forever. So you can see that spring green is here to stay. Luckily, no rain today, because that would add some extra chaos to an already chaotic course here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think the riders are thankful that it is dry conditions today. They should be riding into a cross headwind at the moment, which is perhaps why Intermarché feel the need to drive this one, because they do feel that it's a bit of a crosswind. But with it being a cross headwind, it's very hard to completely split the race. If it was a cross tail, it might be a completely different story. But they are persisting with this one. There was a slight gap halfway down the peloton, but looks like everyone's back together right now.
Intermarché, Circus Wanty at the front. They're racing here with a mixed team of the development squad. A lot of some cyclocross riders as well, Ian. We do, of course, know the revelation of the past cyclocross season, Gerben Kuipers, who's new to the team, and Thijs Aerts, who's also new to the team, by the way. Obi Fitz is a man of the development team, and then Mats Mikkels, Hugo Page, Baptiste Plankaart, and Mike Teunissen. And these roads, they are so typical for these kind of races in the Netherlands. Narrow roads, chaotic situation, and sometimes quite stressful. Before our leaders are caught, let's just give you their names, because they have been in the lead for over 100 kilometers so far. 6 Dutch riders, by the way. We don't have a motorbike with them anymore because one camera stayed with the crash and one with the peloton. But we had Bodie Del Grosso, the 22-year-old of the Ablok cycling team, 2 riders of Allink cycling team with Rick Ottema and Wouter van der Veerthof, the youngest of the 6, just 20 years of age. Axel van der Tuuk of the Maytech team, 21. Björn Bakker of Scorpion Racing team, he's 29. And Max Krone of the Volker Wessels team, a name to remember. I do hope that he is the one. He's one of the riders in the Netherlands to get shot at a bigger team. Had a really good Olympias Tour, which is one of the biggest races for non-elite riders. Of course, these are UCI elite riders, but I mean not World Tour teams or pro teams. He won a stage there. He also won a race last week in the National Series. So Max Krone. Yeah, he's a rider to look out for. He's 22, so that's a bit that age, Ian, that either teams say, okay, do you want to give you that break? And other teams say, well, you're already past that age, isn't it? 22 is a difficult age. You're in your last year of development as an under-23. And, yeah, it's really hard to step up, isn't it?
I think this is one of the biggest changes we've seen in cycling in the last 10, 15 years is at 22, teams are looking at riders thinking, can you develop any further? Are you almost past it if you haven't already made it at this age, which is absolutely crazy. Because, yeah, as I said, 10, 15 years ago, that would be the time you were looking to sign your first kind of professional contract, whereas riders getting signed up now straight out of the junior category, and so by the time they've got to 22 years of age, they've got kind of 4-5 years experience at World Tour level, which is
and
absolutely
some even 2
mad.
Tour de France titles.
Exactly. So it is difficult, but here we see Intermarché again driving it. They obviously feel that it's turned into a slight crosswind again, but again, it's lined out in the gutter, but just can't see them having the firepower to completely split this race. Although I say that, one of the DSM rider pulls out the line and another gap opens up further back, only 10 or 15 riders back.
Very good response there by the Tudor Pro Cycling team. Their 3 Dutch riders, and especially Arvid Klein, is of course a formidable sprinter. I was out on a ride this morning, Ian, and yeah, the wind is northeastern, which means that it is a headwind now up this stretch of the road, like you said, a cross headwind. But yeah, quite soon we will enter the towns again. It's quite densely populated here in this part of the country, so you don't really have these nice open stretches. It's not like we have with the Arno Wallard Memorial, which is another race that takes place in this area, that we basically go along all these river dikes where echelons are bound to happen, even if you have wind force 2 or 3. But they're doing a little bit of damage, and since this is not a very long race, these things maybe count in the final.
Certainly it's matches being burnt that riders behind wouldn't want to be burning at this stage of the race, but yeah, it's a long way out to continue driving this one. It looks like they're getting a little bit of help, but there's no way the Jayco Alula rider is going to be coming through. They're all in for Groenewegen today. Tudor don't even look like they want to get involved either. Perhaps if they were super confident to be able to keep this one, we might see on the final lap. I mean, we still got a lap and a bit to go, so 40.5 kilometres to go. So perhaps if they'd waited another lap and tried this, it's potentially going to work better then. People are going to be more involved. Nizzolo really well placed. It's the kind of thing where if they force it on the final lap and get a group of 20 away and there's 4 from Tudor in there, they're much more likely to help out. But this far out, it's an awfully long way to go to the line.
It's a beautiful part of the country with a little bit of elevation. We just passed the 2 climbs of the race called Grebbeberg and Paardenveld. And the Grebbeberg, yeah, just like I explained before, it's actually the place where the biggest battle in the Second World War in the Netherlands happened. We're going to pass the military cemetery one more time, and it's also indicated in the race book that there will be no communication on the race radio when the peloton passes the military cemetery. 800 men are interred there, 799 military men, 1 civil, and it's also the place where on the 4th of May, when the Netherlands remember their death, is where the military memorial is. So it's an important place in the Netherlands, and of course you can imagine that being one of the few places in the country with a little bit of natural elevation, about 52 meters above sea level. It's a natural stronghold that you want to defend in a war, but yeah, the Dutch army had absolutely zero chance against a very well organized army from Germany, who were of course preparing for war. And the Dutch, like I said before, they were hoping for quite some time, and even until the very early May days, just a week before the invasion, the Queen of the Netherlands and the government were hoping that they could strike a deal with the Germans to stay neutral, just like they did in 1914. Of course, as you might remember, the Belgians wanted to stay neutral as well. That didn't really work out because the entire war was basically fought on their territory. But the Dutch were neutral in the First World War. They hoped to repeat that feat, didn't really invest all that much in their army, so it was a fierce battle. 400 men from the Dutch side died on the Grebbeberg, and yeah, it took 4 days, and on the 5th day they surrendered. So it's an important place here, and the natural elevation, of course, comes from geology and the ice ages when yeah, large packs of ice were transported from Scandinavia, depositing sediments and stuff, becoming sand dunes, and the sand dunes became hills, etc., etc. So yeah, if you want to do a little bit of elevation, more than the 17 meters I did this morning on my 3-hour ride, Ian, this is the place to be.
It looks a lovely part of the Netherlands, which is...
yes, I said 17, yeah.
17, yes.
17, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the flattest places you can probably ride a bike, but not one of the easiest when the wind's blowing. I'm sure you found certainly one direction today it was hard going.
Most definitely, but it's always worthwhile if you fought against the wind and then have your tailwind going back home, isn't it? Finally, we get a little bit of love for our breakaway. This is Bodi del Grosso. Max Krone. Yeah, finally we get some camera time for our breakaway. These 6 guys, they have worked hard to be in the breakaway, as we are already back in the streets of Veenendaal, a city of about 70,000 people. 2 riders of the same team, the Allink Continental Cycling Team, in the light blue and white, with Rick Ottema, one of the better amateur racers in the Netherlands, and Wouter van der Weerthof, a youngster. We have Bodi del Grosso of the Block Cycling Team, the big brother of Tibor del Grosso. Of course, you know him as the silver medal winner in the under-23 cyclocross world championships. Did he win silver? I don't remember. I think he did, or it was another Dutchman. But he's an under-23 cyclocross rider, Tibor. This is his older brother. We have Axel van der Tuuk. His brother is a pro in Spain with Equipo Kernpharma. We have Björn Bakker of the Scorpions Racing Team in white, and Max Krone is the man in dark blue and a white helmet. Most of the teams, by the way, in the Netherlands wear some shade of blue in their kit, which is, with 7 continental teams in the Netherlands, a great thing to really tell them apart, Ian.
It seems to be blue and white is the...
Blue and white is the colour to go to, yeah. Exactly.
Which makes our lives a little bit more complicated. But interesting they've taken away the ticker now, because it was on 36 kilometres still, and we know that the lap's only 33.9. So at least with the riders, they don't particularly need to know exactly how long the race is when they set off, because they know the lap is 33.9. So 1 lap to go, they'll hear that infamous sound of the bell, and they know that they've got the breakaway in their sights. So just 1 lap of racing to go. Nice of them to get a good run in to the finish quite a few times, so they know exactly what they're dealing with. They've got that corner with 400 metres to go, and then it gradually kicks up ever so slightly. Someone taking the inside line there, and
somebody parked a van there, which is also a dubious place to park your van.
Yeah, on the outside of the corners, never nice.
Oh, we're just going past the market square. Luckily, this is at 35-something kilometres from the finish line, and there's not really a lot to gain here. But these I do understand these passages through towns, Ian, because, you know, the council here, the council of Veenendaal, of course, pays for these races as well. But it's not ideal, that little stint on the market, the Saturday market there.
It isn't. It very much reminds me of a Belgian kermesse going through past the fair, such like. But it looks like it's been a whole weekend of like a cycling festival in the town, with the women's yesterday, the kids racing, and some amateurs racing, a small criterium this morning as well. I saw an old colleague, Eddie van IJzendoorn, racing this morning. I think he's from Veenendaal, perhaps.
He is from this region, indeed, yes.
So yeah, it's good to see such a cycling festival being put on, and having the pro event in the afternoon today just brings it all together. It's really good to see.
Yeah, and I do think that, of course, local authorities do invest in these kind of races. If you have a broader program, also, you know, with your, trying to encourage your inhabitants to do sports and stuff like that, make it wider than just the pro race, and have this entire site program. Like you said, this morning we had kids races. We saw them on the stream a little bit before we went live, which is really great. And yesterday the women's race, and today the men's race. 33 seconds here with Bodi del Grosso. He won an under-23 stage race a couple of weeks ago. The overall classification, that is, he's a 22-year-old, lives in Drenthe, which is in the north of the Netherlands, but also spends a lot of time in the Knaven household, because he is dating one of the Knaven sisters. There are 4 of them, and they're all dating cyclists. It's in the family. It's in the family. But yeah, he's a lovely guy, and been part of this team for a while. Bodi del Grosso. He did a little bit of cyclocross, but not as much as his brother Tibor, who is, as you know, a very talented young man.
Yeah, I'd noted him down just simply knowing his brother. I thought he must have decent genes. So yeah, it's one to watch. But he's got himself in the breakaway today and doing a good job for the team, getting the sponsors out there live on TV, and forcing the chasers to put down the watts to bring those guys back.
Talking about watts, we can see Jan-Willem van Schip there at the front in the white of a block. He also lives in Wageningen, by the way, and he's, of course, Mr. Arrow, as he's called in the peloton, always looking after some free watts. And the thing that he invented now with his bars raised is, well, he did it a couple of years ago in the Tour of Belgium with a new situation. There he is with that really, really narrow handlebar of his. A couple of years ago in Belgium, a custom-made bars, and those were illegal after a night of discussions at the UCI headquarters in Switzerland. But this is also a very interesting situation, Ian. What's happening there with Jan-Willem van Schip?
Yeah, they're just getting kind of around the rules a little bit while using the flared drops, which ultimately means it naturally turns the levers in ever so slightly, and it means you can hold the very top of the levers while resting the forearms on the tops of the bars to make yourself very aerodynamic. And it's one of those grey areas within the rules. Obviously, the rule got brought into place. You're not allowed to do the puppy paws, and part of that rule states that you're not allowed to use your forearms to kind of rest on. But he clearly is, but he's also holding the levers at the same time. So definitely a grey area, but we see him running a smaller frame set, as you say. Kind of something you see now a lot in the TTs is very small frames, even very tall riders using small frames and using lots and lots of spacers under the bars to bring the arms up nice and high to get super aero and reduce that frontal area of the body and the bike, which is very important, as we see him doing to good effect at the front of the bunch. It's definitely a love-hate scenario. I don't think I'm a huge fan of it, just because when he gets out the saddle or manoeuvres the bike,
it's not safe, is it?
He hasn't got the same control as perhaps a wider bar would have, but yeah, he's within the rules and racing the way he is.
He's a guy who is on the shortlist to race the Madison. Is of course a points race world champion, Jan-Willem van Schip. He's on the shortlist to race the Madison for the Netherlands next year in Paris. The other 2 contestants are also in this peloton with Vincent Hoppesak, the youngster of the Beat Cycling Club, and Juri Havik, and they've been like changing positions in all the World Cups that we've had so far in Cairo and in Canada. So yeah, that's still a tough decision to make, which 2 riders you are going to send to Paris. But that's a whole different discussion. This is the kind of the time of the year, Ian, where we have some trek riders in the peloton, we have some cyclocross riders, we have, of course, our regular road racers as well. So it's a little bit of a mixed bunch of specialties racing together.
It certainly is, and it makes for good racing, and looking forward to how this one plays out over those final 2 climbs and obviously the finish.
Bodi del Grosso of our group of 5 maybe had a little bit of a mechanical issue. Maybe he's just done with today, but he's dropped from this group, meaning that we have 5 left. Leading the group at the moment is Max Krone, the 22-year-old, followed by Rick Ottema, the man from the north of the country. The oldest of our 5 riders. He's 30. In his wheel, his younger teammate, Wouter van der Weerthof. And then the other riders are Axel van der Tuuk in the dark blue and bright yellow bikes of Matex, and Bjorn Bakker, a new team in the Netherlands, the Scorpions Racing Team. Peloton nice and compact there. We've already talked about David Dekker. He is back in the race. Ooh, cramps there. That's never great for Simon Sainok. Talking about a track specialist there, former world champion himself. But, that's always a nasty situation to be in, Ian.
Yeah, just when you think you've got rid of it, you bend the leg again and it cramps up. So, yeah, not very nice for him at all. Interesting that he has cramped up, perhaps shows that this race hasn't been as easy as it looked on TV at this point. But two of the Intermarché riders, including Ty Sarts, put themselves out the back from those almost a lap ago now when they really tried to kick things off. But that's Madis Mikkels out the back as well. Perhaps he's had a mechanical...
We can see he is a protected rider. There's, of course, like you said, Thijs Aerts is bringing him back. But there's two other riders there waiting for him. So Mats Mikkels is, of course, a fast rider to the line on or near the podium at the Under-23 World Championships in Belgium 2 or 3 years ago. So he is absolutely the protected rider. Thijs Aerts, yeah, he's done his job for the day.
Yeah, he must have had a problem. Just shows that he is the protected rider, that they've gone to the lengths of dropping 3 riders back to bring him back into the peloton. Still 3 of his teammates at the front. So maybe they've got kind of him as a protected rider and then someone else as perhaps a go-to if things don't go well for him today.
Yeah, we could also see that Mike Donis has done a lot of work at the front together here with Baptiste Plankaart. And also Hugo Page is there as well. We saw Hugo Page in the Circuit de Wallonie on Thursday, also being very active. Maybe it's good to look at the results of Thursday. It was in Charleroi. The race was won by Jordi Meijers. He's not here. Taminiau, Kilich, Menten. Yeah, the first rider we find here of that race there is the runner-up of Thursday, Lionel Taminiau, racing with Alpecin de Koning here. Interesting enough, Timo Kilich, they both sprinted for it. It was a bit of a weird situation, wasn't it?
It was. It looked like Kilich was maybe being led out, but yeah, the lead out didn't get launched early enough to be able to kind of launch him and then pull out the way. So they ended up with 2 guys on the podium, which... yeah, from a team and DS point of view, you'd probably say something's gone wrong when that leads to that situation. But at the same time, they both picked up points. They both got on the podium in all the pictures. We're talking about it. So, yeah, maybe not all that bad. But interesting that Kielijk doesn't start today. Someone else on the start list for them is David van der Poel, who's actually a pretty quick bunch sprinter himself. So it'll be interesting how they work the lead-out train today and who gets the final spot within that lead-out train.
Yeah, he's going to focus on road racing. He kind of said goodbye to his cyclocross career in March or February of this year. But he's already well into his 30s. Why did he say goodbye to cyclocross?
He had that long-term kind of back injury, which he was really struggling with, and he'd had some, really bad seasons for a guy of his level, and was struggling off-road in particular with his back. But on the road, it didn't seem to be a problem. But in actual fact, last cross season, he seemed to sort out his back issues, and he had some really decent results towards the back end of the season. So, we've seen a big crash.
Another big pile-up here. It happened at the back of the bunch there with Josh Burnett, one of the victims there. Seeing if we have some big name riders involved in this crash. Neutral Sport is quick to the scene there, 147. Guillaume Fischer, we have 102 is Camille Bonneau. I don't see the really big riders there, to be quite honest with you. One of the men of Arkea Samsic in a little bit of trouble. 106 is Elias Maris. This is Josh Burnett. But it looks like there's more material damage here than riders still on the pavement needing medical assistance.
Maybe one of those situations, a slight narrowing of the road. And perhaps the front of the peloton slowed down ever so slightly, and what you can end up with is that concertina effect. Riders at the back see the road narrowing, a few riders go off, and yeah, riders at the back just can't stop in time. It's one of those situations, you're in the bunch, you hear the squeal, you hear the screech of the brakes, you know there's a crash, and you think, oh, I'll be able to stop in time. And it's amazing how you can't. You just run into the back of the person ahead of you, and can end up having some really nasty falls, even though by the time you actually hit the floor, you're probably going reasonably slowly, but it's those ones where you literally slam straight into the ground rather than sliding. See that rider potentially landed right on his knees, which is a really nasty one. He's holding that knee.
This is the man from Brittany, Ewan Costew, a very talented young man on the Arkea Samsic team. Yeah, he will most likely not return to the front. They're racing here with Nasser Bouhanni for the Arkea Samsic team. Like I said in the introduction, Bouhanni, he's had quite a horrible season so far with only 14 race days. He crashed quite early on in Mallorca, came back, crashed out again. I think it was in April, and now he's racing back again. So a lot of injuries there for him, but a lot of races coming up as well for Nasser Bouhanni. But yeah, will he have his sprinting power today? His first race after the injury in Pays de la Loire was Eschborn-Frankfurt on the 1st of May. Didn't make it to the finish line there, so we have no indication on how fast the sprinter legs are on Nasser Bouhanni. Maybe Ian, with 25 kilometers to go and our breakaway of 5 still at 47 seconds, we can get over the teams a little bit and look at the fast guys. Have you taken up your marker and gone crazy on the start list?
I have. Obviously the out-and-out favourite today is going to be Dylan Groenewegen from Team Jayco Alula, 4 times winner here, a winner in Hungary last week, won a stage of UAE and Saudi Tour already this season as well. I think his main competition is going to be Nizzolo and Sam Welsford, who's had 3 wins himself this season, second at Schelde Prize, which is a bit of another kind of sprinter's classic. As you said earlier, his last race was Paris-Roubaix, so coming off a decent break. I've got Mazzato, Bohani, Einhorn.
I would like to add, well, some of the sprinters of the smaller Dutch teams. Of course, we have Jarne van der Paar of the Lotto Destiny team, if we are first taking the pro teams. Made the switch to the pro team only earlier this year and sprinted to a 3rd place quite, well, actually on his first day of his pro contract, so good start for him. Q36.5 already won quite early this year. Matteo Moschetti, the Italian. Of Team Flanders Baloise, we do have Jules Hesters there, Vito Braat. Tudor Pro Cycling are here with Arvid de Klein, absolutely a name to look out for, together with Michael Zeilaert. They won Milan-Turin, which is a really big race. Basically all the big sprinters were there, and after a phenomenal lead out by Michael Zeilaert, Arvid de Klein won that race for Tudor. The smaller teams, I would like to put the spotlight on, let me see, the smaller team of Volker Wessels and especially Koen Vermeldvoort. He's racing with number 217. It's the highest start number today, the last in line, but he's a guy who really does a lot of great results in our national series, in the national races, Koen Vermeldvoort. So a name to look out for. Timothy Dupont for Tatuletu Iserex won a stage a couple of weeks ago in the Tour of Greece, the Hellas Tour, and also Martijn Budding of the Tour de Titema Unibet team. They're in the blue with the outrageously coloured Cannondales is a name to look out for. But of course, just like you said, the out-and-out favourite here is Groenewegen. But let's see what Sam Welsford can do. We saw with Jordi Meyers, his last race was Paris-Roubaix, and his first race back was on Thursday. It didn't really hamper his performance, so let's see how fast Sam Welsford is going to be today.
Yeah, as we saw with Jordi Muse, he obviously had a decent break after Paris-Roubaix, then got back to training and has come in, yeah, in really good form. And I don't expect anything less from Sam Welsford today. Decent training block. They've had plenty of time to get back up to speed in terms of training, and yeah, I'm sure he's going to be fast today on that slight drag up to the finish. I think experience will pay dividends in terms of having raced this race before. Obviously, Dylan Groeneweggen's raced many times before, but also Timothy Dupont's had 2 top 10s here. Declines had 3 top 10s here, so they know the finish quite well. I'd had noted down Vermeltfort as well, 2 wins at 1.2 level this season, so obviously a fast man, as you well know. But it's interesting. From my career, whenever I came up against someone from the lowlands, I just assumed they could sprint because they all seem to be able to.
Yeah, we had a pretty impressive generation of climbers, and that was all due to the Rabobank Ardennes test, actually. Started in the late 90s, going on to, well, until the end of the Rabobank team, inviting all the best juniors to a test in the Belgian Ardennes, an uphill test. And that's how they figured out so many great climbing talent from the Netherlands. But as you know, the Rabobank team is no more. And we are, well, we're searching for new climbers. As you can see right now, the top of the bill from the Netherlands are sprinters. And not only Groenewegen, also Jacobsen, Olaf Kooi, etc., etc. There's a whole array of young sprinters coming through the ranks right now. And, well, on a flat surface like the Netherlands, it's pretty easy to become a sprinter. Naturally, Dutch people are quite tall. They're one of the tallest in the world, actually. So, yeah, there's a lot of muscle power here in this group. Look at the length there of Wouter van der Weerthof. He's a young guy. I've known him since he was 10, actually. Or actually, I think he was 9. It was my first. I volunteer at a junior cycling event for 8 to 18-year-old kids, and it was my first year. And I just had this very small tent, and it was a horrible summer with so much rain. And I remember that his parents invited me to their caravan and have meals with them at night. So it's really funny that being involved as a volunteer with this event since 2011, I think. And now you see these guys grow up and you commentate on them. You know them since they were like 9 or 10 years old. So that's really funny. Luckily, we're back this year with the Junior Cycling Tour. And it's the greatest thing, Ian, to see young kids discover the love and the passion for the sport. Whether that's road or cross, of course, you see a lot of these young kids ride cross in the UK as well. It's always a joy.
It is. It's just racing a bike can bring so much joy to kids, and it's just great to see them enjoying being outside, doing sport on their bikes. And yeah, it's great when you see a name coming up through the ranks and eventually being in these professional races, and having known where they've come from. It's just brilliant to see. One of the riders in here is that Josh Giddings, obviously a really young British rider, came up through racing cross in the UK, etc. And now, yeah, on almost the biggest stage right now, guesting for the Lotto Destiny team. So it's just great to see, and when you know the bit of a backstory to it, it's really cool.
We've discussed this before, Ian, but there's development team riders and World Tour or Pro Team riders riding in the same team. How is that possible? Are they not 2 separate teams?
They are technically, but the UCI does allow kind of the development team riders to ride up. They're not allowed to in World Tour races, so they can ride up in events like this and gain experience from being with even if it is a World Tour team, they're allowed to ride within that. It's just not the World Tour races. So they can, yeah, ride up, gain experience, learn from the older, more experienced riders. And also, it's brilliant for the World Tour teams, because on perhaps a race like today where they might be struggling, because there's so many races on at the moment, you only need a few injuries, illness, as we see with the Giro. And yeah, it's really useful to be able to call upon your development team. You've got another set of kind of 15, 20 young, enthusiastic riders, which will bite your hand off for an opportunity to ride up and experience these races.
Yeah, most definitely. And sometimes these kind of races are the first that we see of the stars of the future, isn't it? It's always nice in these smaller races, and we've got so many here on GCN, Discovery Plus and Eurosport for you to enjoy, that you can spot, that talent spot already the winners of the future. Tom van Asbroek there piloting his sprinter, Giacomo Nisolo, with the remarkable helmet. This is Jonas Rickaert. He was out for quite some time, actually, due to an injury to his leg. You know, the already dreaded nick to the iliac artery, and he was out for quite some time. The first surgery didn't work out, so he had to go again. But his first race back was somewhere this spring in Belgium. I think it was Brugge de Bonne. And he was an absolute maniac in that. It was so good to see him back. He's very important in the sprint train of Alpes in de Koning. Of course, we're talking mostly Jasper Philipsen. So if he keeps racing like this, I do think that Jonas Rickaert is on the shortlist again for the Tour de France to go there with Philipsen and, of course, Mathieu van der Poel, who added 2 races to his program. Mathieu van der Poel, dwars door het Hageland, second weekend of June. And the week after, the 5 days of the Tour of Belgium, races that you can both watch here on GCN Plus, Discovery Plus and Eurosport. So 6 more race days added to the calendar of Mathieu van der Poel to prepare for the Tour de France. That starts on the 1st of July in Bilbao. 16 kilometers, meaning that we are getting closer to our quote-unquote hill zone. Our 2 climbs that we're going to have. We now have a very short stretch alongside the river. If you look at the map of the Netherlands, it's basically cut in 2 by a system of rivers. We've got the Rhine River, of course, being the biggest of them all, the Lek River, the Nederrijn, and that is this is the Lek Dijk, the dike alongside the Lek. If you want to spot riders, this is the place to go, because this is the ideal place to do your tempo efforts, Ian, especially on a Tuesday morning. It's it's a bit of a battle as well for the Strava segment on the Lek Dijk. It's a pretty long stretch. I think it's about 45 kilometers from this part all the way to almost near Rotterdam, actually.
That's really cool, and it's amazing.
Don't do it in a headwind, though.
No, wait for the tailwind.
Exactly.
Checking the weather each morning to see whether to go for it or not. Yeah,
my strategy is always to go like in the small villages and like protected areas, and then full gas tailwind on the Lek Dijk.
Brilliant. Here we are hitting the lower slopes of the Grebbeberg, 500 meters, 5.5% average, and yeah, maxing out at 7.7%. And as we saw last year, people do get lured into trying to launch something on these little drags, and it certainly puts people in trouble and lines things out. That splits will form in the peloton behind if it really kicks off. But yeah, in previous years that hasn't been a huge issue in terms of riders getting dropped, but it is a cross headwind on this first climb and then a direct headwind on the next climb. But as we see now, riders being distanced from this breakaway group, and the gap down under 30 seconds for the first time.
The sad thing about the Grebbeberg, of course, the military cemetery and the fighting that went on here, but the sad thing is that the bike path where these people are standing is so very narrow that it's really hard to get up to top speed once you crossed it. Because you have to stay on the bike path.
Yeah, that's one of the rules that British riders can fall foul of when the bike path doesn't seem to be the easiest route. You think, oh, it's easiest just to ride on the road, but yeah, as we found out many times, you can get in trouble for that.
This is, well, the best 2 amateur races of that first group of 6 left, Max Kroon and Rick Ottema. And this is the Grebbeberg War Cemetery. 800 graves, like I said before. Initially, after the fighting in May, also the German soldiers who died there were interred on the Grebbeberg. They were later moved to the German War Memorial Cemetery in IJsselstein, which is more towards the south of the country. And now, and after the war, many of the soldiers that died in different parts of the Netherlands during the 1940-1945 war were moved to this national field on the Grebbeberg. We can see that the team of Dylan Groenewegen is getting to the front. There he is, Groenewegen, a man who lives near Amsterdam. I quite often spot him on my rides. It's a pretty impressive sight to see, because such a powerful sprinter and so low on his bike. Just like you said before, Ian, the bikes or the frame sets tend to become smaller and smaller every year.
Certainly, and if you can use a smaller and smaller frame, it just means that frontal area of the head tube becomes smaller and smaller. And then if you've got a aero stack underneath your stem, obviously that's faster, less kind of surface area than a head tube. So I know I spoke to Dylan Groenewegen's coach in the week, and he said he's been working really hard on the aerodynamics, looking at the bikes, looking at his position during the sprint, looking at kit. So yeah, very much targeting the Tour de France. He had a really good training camp down in Spain recently, so yeah, looking in good form. But with these big teams coming to the fore, it's really nullified any sort of attacks on that first climb, especially along with that headwind. No one decided to go on the attack that time.
We just passed the zoo there, Ouwehands Dierenpark. My best friend, she texted me yesterday. It's like, was there a cycling race going on? Because I was stuck in traffic for an hour after I went to the zoo with my daughter. And it's always emblematic of, you know, how my world and maybe your world revolves around cycling, and other people are completely oblivious to the fact that there is cycling going on, and just find it a burden and an annoyance that the roads are closed. And it was the last lap, it was after 5, the last lap of the women's race. So yeah, you do want, like women who got dropped, you also want them, give them a chance to finish the race as well. So yeah, she was annoyed, and many people are annoyed when bike races come by, because not everybody is so passionate about the sport. And if you have to go places, yeah, road closures are not great.
Yeah, I think in the UK, drivers often just get annoyed at the sight of a cyclist, let alone a bike race. So definitely something that we know what you're talking about in the UK. But we see a real race. Yeah.
Did you hear the camera bike? The cameraman.
Wasn't quite expecting that speed bump. Probably took the wind out of him. He wasn't tensed up for that one. But we are approaching now the Paardenveld as the breakaway finally hit the lower slopes. It looks like some teams, Israel Premier Tech, coming to the fore. Whether we're going to see this one line out, all that headwind and the bigger teams in control will stop anything going on the attack. But we see one last kind of throw of the dice from the breakaway.
This is Max Kroone, the man that I talked to you about before. If there's a few riders in the amateur scene, in the continental scene, who deserve a shot at a bigger team, and Max Kroone is absolutely one of them. And I do hope that he's on the radar of some of the pro teams, because I think he has it in him. I have no stock or any investment in Max Kroone. I don't know him personally, but yeah, 22 is a tricky age, just like you said before, Ian. It's crazy that 22 is already considered old in the pro peloton, but it's the last year of your under-23 stint, and we don't have a pro team anymore in the Netherlands. For quite a few years we had that step between a continental, a third-tier team, and a first and a World Tour team, but we don't have that anymore. So it's really hard for riders to find a place to step up. I shared the anecdote of my best friend being annoyed at the cycling race, because people have that myth that everybody in the Netherlands is completely invested in cycling. But cycling your bike to the Saturday market or the supermarket or to gym or whatever, to school, is a different thing than bike races. There's just less and less acceptance of having bike races around your home, and also due to the fact that we have hardly any police available anymore on motorbikes. There's only a very small number of pro races left in my country, which is really sad, and this is one of them. So let's enjoy the final 10 kilometers. This is Max Kroone. He is the last remaining rider of our breakaway of 6 who attacked quite early on in the stage. 6 Dutch riders, and Max Kroone, the 22-year-old of the Volker Wessels team, is the last man standing. We can see the blue helmets of Jaco Alula already getting to the front there, with Groenewegen also very active at the front at the moment. Alpecin de Koning. We did see that Lionel Taminiau was second on Thursday in Circuit de Wallonie. Who do you think they will launch for the sprint today, Ian, at Alpes in de Koning?
I think they'll be all in for him once again. He showed his speed on Thursday, and I would have thought that, yeah, they'll be backing him all the way. The only other possibility perhaps is David van der Poel, depending, but he was at the back of the bunch not that long ago. Marachetko, he's reasonably fast come the finish. He won a stage of the Tour of Bretagne, 5th at the Coxside Classic earlier this year, so strong finisher as well. So maybe those two will be talking to each other, letting each other know who feels better on the day. Hopefully not arguing too much, but all our climbing done for the day, and just a flat run in now with a cross headwind, and then that final 400 meters into a direct headwind. So once again, just like the other day, it'll be trying to come off that final wheel as late as possible into a slight uphill drag and a headwind. So once again, the riders should be coming off that very final wheel with around 150, 160 metres to go perhaps.
This is Elmar Reinders just in front of Dylan Groenewegen. One of the examples actually of an older rider making the step up to the World Tour, Elmar Reinders, after spending quite a few years in the continental scene. But underneath the railroad, 8.4 kilometers to go. We're now racing in a northerly direction back to the town of Veenendaal, the name giver of this race. The 4th race in the Lotto Cycling Cup. We had one on Thursday, Circuit de Wallonie, won by Jordi Meijers. We'll have one tomorrow as well. And I think, Ian, it's not to be missed tomorrow. It's a very special race, the Antwerp-Port Epic. It's a little bit of gravel, it's a little bit of off-road, it's a little bit of everything, and it's going to be really, really exciting. So do join us tomorrow, or maybe watch it back on Eurosport on Monday. The final is starting Alpes in de Koning. There we have Jaco Alula, we have Nisolo, and these small roads, Ian. It's so hard to move up here.
It certainly is, especially when you have a few teams on the front just slowing things down ever so slightly, just blocking ever so slightly. If you're 30 guys back, it's almost impossible to see people trying to use the grass to move up, even taking huge risks with only 7.5 kilometers to go, just to try and get a little bit further forward. You see the Daitama team rider just going onto the gravel there in a gateway just to get 1 or 2 positions further ahead. But at that point you're risking a crash coming back onto the road if there's a slight lip in the tarmac, or perhaps even puncturing on any loose gravel that might be in that gateway.
This is David Dekker. He abandoned the Giro with an injury. He had a cough and everything. No COVID, but he's now back to racing. But he said, it will take a few weeks before I'm back up to speed. And he said, despite the weather, I would have preferred to stay in the Giro. It was his target to finish that Grand Tour. But as you might have seen, it was rain again today in the Giro d'Italia for a change. These poor riders and also staff working there. Absolute horrible, horrible Giro d'Italia. Back to the racing here with Alpes in de Koning at the front of the bunch. We can see that Intermarché Circus Wanty is moving to the front. Tudor as well there. You can already spot Arvid de Klein. We have on the wheel of Jonas Rickaert, Jakub Mareczko, the small Italian with the Polish roots. A name to look out for. Tudor is looking very impressive at this phase of the race, but we still have 6.7 kilometers to go. They're also getting to the front there with Page of the Intermarché team. Mats Mikkels, of course, a fast rider for them. But if you're now in the second half, that's already going to cost you so much to get back to the front right now. If you're not at the front, you're already out of contention, is my estimate here.
Yeah, we're on these narrower roads for a little while, and then the last 3 kilometres are slightly wider roads. There's a couple of things to think about in the last 3 kilometres. There is a roundabout with 1.8 kilometres to go, and then that final right-hand corner with 400 metres to go, which hasn't really looked anything in the previous laps at the speed they've been taking it. But I can assure you, on that final lap, the riders will be running wider and wider towards those barriers on the left-hand side of the road, carrying that bit more speed through that final corner in the final little drag up to the finish.
We haven't mentioned Rory Townsend yet, but he's there. We did see earlier on today that Matt Bostock was involved in a crash, but Rory Townsend in his Irish champion jersey is very much there, just like he was on Thursday, always racing near the front, really holding himself in that peloton really, really well. Just surfing the wheels there. He really has a talent for that.
He has, and he was sixth on Thursday in the Charleroi race. And he came from a long way back in the sprint. He was carrying really good speed. Even when they crossed the line, he was probably going the fastest out of everyone. Maybe a little bit misleading because he's still in the wheels, protected from that headwind that we had on Thursday, and on that slight uphill drag it can be slightly misleading, but he was carrying good speed nevertheless. And yeah, watch out for him today.
I think it's actually Joran Visure here at the front of the peloton. I'm not completely sure. The under-23 cyclocross world champion in Fayetteville, that was, of course, in America. We can see that DSM are moving to the front with Sam Welsford. His first race back since the 9th of April, but a fantastic spring season with 3 wins for him. It is indeed Joran Visure. A fantastic job there by Visure at the front of the bunch. That is really impressive, Ian, what Visure is doing today.
He is. He hasn't done much road this season so far, but he did get 7th in the Rue de Vorde course in Belgium. I actually checked the results of that one, as we see another rider that had a good ride there was David van der Poel. He was 3rd, so on the podium at that race. I checked the top 10, and there was an awful lot of cyclocross riders in the top 10 at that race. So one of the first races back on the road for a lot of the cross guys, and already showing good form. But that answers a question. Won't be working for David today.
No, it will be either Taminiau or Mareczko, and Ricard natuurlijk an important lead-out rider. They're really taking command. It's Mareczko there in 4th wheel. Then it's the train of Jaco Alula, led there by Luke Durbridge. In that train we will find Elmar Reinders and Blake Quick as well. Moving up on the other side of the peloton are the boys of Tudor Pro Cycling with Arvid de Klein. Michael Zeilaert is his lead-out man, just like he did in Milan-Turin. One of the riders from our breakaway today, the ever-smiling Rick Ottema. But yeah, his job is done. He had some camera time for the Allink Continental Cycling team. We can see the big teams moving to the front. Also Timothy Dupont there in the yellow and black of Tartoletto Isorex. But for now, it's command by Tudor, Jaco Alula, and also Alpecin de Koning. Very narrow roads, but like you said, it opens up in about, well, half a kilometre, something like that.
It's very difficult with this headwind to really line things out. So this is why we see a number of trains all across the road just controlling things, and you really want to try and leave it as late as possible to hit the front with your train, because with the headwind you'll use riders up more quickly than it would be with a tailwind. The issue is with your sprinter being at the back of the line, it's easy for those to get swamped by riders fighting for that position at the back of these lines. But we see the riders lining out now, all in their team colours. Tudor on the left-hand side as we look at it. Jaco Alula going down the middle. Alpecin de Koning on the right-hand side. So looks like we're going to have a big kind of drag for that final corner.
Yeah, and that final corner, you said, how many metres from the line is that? It's pretty late.
About 400 metres, so by the time they kind of exit and straighten up, there's about 300 metres to go as such. So yeah, not long to the line, so you want to be in a really good position going around there. Probably 3rd or 4th position if you're the team sprint around that final corner, as we see Jaco Alula just waiting. It'd be interesting to see. They'll probably try and hit the front around that roundabout so they can lead into that final corner, but everyone's going to be trying to do the same thing.
There's a little bit of a fight there for the rear wheel of Dylan Groenewegen. The same goes for that rear wheel of Mareczko. We can see Lotte Destiny moving to the front. I think Jarno van der Paat is going to be their sprinter. But of course, Guarnieri is a fantastic lead-out man, but can do some sprinting himself. They are moving to the front. We have Tudor there. Welsford, he has to move up a little bit. His train is kind of stuck there between Lotto Destiny and Tudor. Everybody's choosing a different side of the roundabout here. Really, really big roundabout. Let's see what the right side of the roundabout is. Well, it doesn't really make a difference at all. Tudor is having things under control right now. We're in the final 1.5 kilometers, but there's only one man left in front of Arvid de Klein. Final efforts done here by Alpecin de Koning. We can see that Jaco Alula moving to the front. Ricard, he still has one rider behind him for Marechko. And now Welsford is also trying to move up there with his really powerful pedal strokes there. The strongman from Australia. I'm looking out for the helmet there of Giacomo Nizzolo, that black and white helmet that he has. Everybody is fighting for position as we go into that final kilometer. And everybody's basically fighting for position for that final corner, Ian, because that is a first point towards the finish.
Yeah, Kell O'Brien on the front for Team Jaco Alula, one of the strongest team individual pursuiters in the world. So he's actually been able to line this one out, getting out of the saddle. His job is done, but looks like Dylan Groeneweggen's out of teammates and a little further back.
He has to catch a ride on the back wheel of Marechko. There's a lot of shoulder barging. Marechko still has two riders in front of him. Final efforts here by Ricard. Fantastic work. Timaniau is the final man. Welsford, we have Van der Paard at the front. We also have Dylan Groenewegen, Moschetti there. Everybody gets through that final corner in one piece. And let's see the final sprint. 300 meters to go in the Veenendaal Classic. Final sprint effort there by Alpecin de Koning. We see Marechko on the inside, Groenewegen through the middle. Marechko or Dylan Groenewegen for his 5th win. It looks like Dylan Groenewegen has his 5th Veenendaal in such a dominant way.
Yeah, he won that easily in the end. Maybe 4th or 5th wheel as he came round that final corner, and he did launch very, very late. Probably inside 100 meters to go, and really surpassed all the other riders and opened up a small gap in the final 50 meters, showing his strength and, yeah, kind of stating his claim as one of the fastest guys in the world.
Yeah, like you said, he already showed last week he had things under control with a win in Hungary, and now his 5th win. He won it last year in 2018, 2016 and 2015. There is his little boy, and of course saying thanks to his teammates.
Yeah, they did a good job, kind of that 10 to probably 3 kilometers to go in terms of keeping him well positioned. But then after that turn from Kell O'Brien, he was completely isolated and just had to kind of freestyle off the back of the Alpecin de Koning train. But it worked out well for him in the end.
Little Mason there, and Nina, the girlfriend of Dylan, immediately taking time to inspire the future. Well, of course, with Dad racing all over the world, little Mason doesn't always have the time to watch his dad win. But today, he might have, he might get himself a trip to the podium.
Really nice for the riders when they're racing close to home to have family present, because like you say, they're on the road so much that it's very difficult to spend a lot of time with their families. Even during the winter, they're away for training camps and team get-togethers, such like. So yeah, great for all the family.
More family there. He's a real family man, Dylan is. Especially, of course, after what happened in Poland and all the threats that he got. He really find comfort in being with his family. His dad, he is a bike mechanic. They had a bike shop, actually, the Groenewegen family. So he really grew up in and amongst and on bikes. Multiple Tour de France stage winner, of course, Groenewegen. And now 5 times winner of the Veenendaal Classic. And yesterday in the women's race, they also got themselves a fantastic winner in Lotte Kopecky. Let's see the sprint again, Ian. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we see him just on the back of the Alpecin de Koning, a real pushing and shoving with the Lotto Destiny rider there. Here we're going to get a replay, see what happened in that final corner. Someone caused a bit of a ricochet there, coming together. It was Buhani. He's not having any luck this season, but there Groenewegen fourth wheel coming around that final corner, and then just bides his time. You see Welsford out in the wind far too early, and then when Dylan Groenewegen goes, no one can get near him. Decline did a decent job in the wheel, but not able to make any sort of impression.
So we have Groenewegen, Decline, Welsford, Moschetti and Mareczko in the top 5. Janne van der Paar there sprinting for Lotto Destiny. The rider of a block just bumping Nasser Bouhanni out of that corner there. And also, another miss there for Giacomo Nizzolo. His team doing a lot of work, but just not having the speed to finish it off.
No, just out of position, and if you're not in that kind of fourth, fifth wheel going around that final corner, it's very, very difficult with the speed of these top guys to make any sort of impression. And Nizzolo was just out of position before that final turn. It looked like Bouhanni just got completely bumped out of it. He's just having no luck this season. I literally wrote down for him today, DNF and DNS sums up his season. Looked like he was having a few words with Rory Townsend afterwards. Perhaps he got the jerseys a bit muddled up who caused that one, because I don't think Townsend was anywhere near him.
Wasn't. No, it was a block rider who bumped him out of contention. Let's wait for the top 10 of this edition of Veenendaal. A race that is a pretty old one. It's got some very big names on the list. The first edition was 1985, immediately won by one of the biggest cyclists in this country, Joop Zoetemelk, Tour de France winner. Jean-Paul van Poppel, one of the fastest sprinters of his day, won it. Other names, Olaf Ludwig, André Schmiel, Ekimov. And let's listen to Groenewegen. Yeah, that fifth win, is that a boost for the confidence? Yeah, it's always nice to race here, and it's one of the very few pro races we have in the Netherlands, so it's great that we can race here as a team. I didn't really have those good legs, but in the sprint I was positioned perfectly. And the team really did a good job, and I'm really grateful for that. They were really strong today. It was not an easy race. There was a lot of wind. It was hectic out there. And it was not always that easy. But I'm really grateful for my team. Yeah, the kilometer from the line, you were around 10th position. Did they get you to the front there? Yeah, we are in preparation for the Tour de France. So we miss a few riders from our Tour de France team, like for example Luka Meskic, who is normally my last rider, and he would be the one who get me in position in that last turn. And Alpecin de Koning did a perfect lead out, and I profited from that.
Are you with the preparation for the Tour de France already?
Yeah, it's a really nice one. It's always a really hectic time. A lot from home with training camps and everything, with races. But it's nice to ride in your home country. I live not so far from here. It's only 70k. It's nice that my wife is here and also my kids. So that make the win also really special, and it's a nice one. Also my 5th one in Veenendaal. So yeah, hopefully I can next year the 6th one. But now we have a really nice one, and we celebrate it tonight.
We wish you the 6th one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good interview there by Dylan Groenewegen. Yeah, it's the 20th of May. And it's only 6 weeks to the start of the Tour, something like that. We still have the month of June, and then on the first day of July we start the Tour de France. Dylan Groenewegen, Arvid de Klein, Sam Welsford, Jacob Mareczko, Matteo Moschetti, Jarne van der Paar, Timothy Dupont, Jesper Ras, Alexander Solby and Martijn Budding is the top 10 of this edition of Veenendaal. I was just going over some of the big names that we had here, but Dylan Groenewegen is the record holder right now with 5 wins in this classic in the Netherlands. I don't know if you have this in the UK, but this is everybody has got like a small plot of land where you do your vegetables and stuff like that, and it's like a communal garden, but everybody's got his own plot. It's not like you share or something. We have these all over the place. Is that a thing in the UK?
Yeah, we call them allotments.
Oh, really? Oh, let's listen to Arvid de Klein first. Are you happy or disappointed? A bit of both, to be honest.
Je komt altijd om te winnen.
And I always go to races to win, and it's a home race, and I really wanted that. But I've been out of racing for a while due to COVID, and that took quite some time. And this is my first race back since 2 months. So in that respect, I'm happy to be second. So it's a little bit of a double feeling. You are from this region, so that gives extra motivation. Yeah, I know so many people lining the roads here, so that's great. But in the final kilometer, I had to do some intermediate sprints to get into position, and I was actually a little bit too far, so I'm running a little bit short there. But the winner is a great winner there.
Can you describe us the last stretch, the final stretch?
Yeah, throughout the corner, I was in position 8, something like that, and yeah, it's headwind, so I knew I was too far for the victory, but maybe for a podium. So I came from far behind with a lot of speed, but couldn't made it for the victory. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, 2 months out due to a COVID infection. And as we know by now from the Giro, it's still very much a thing in the pro peloton. And riders taking super big precautions as well. I know that Remco Evenepoel, for example, he tested negative yesterday, but he's going for a whole series of cardiac checkups on Monday to make sure that he's cleared again to go training, because it's a real big fear in the peloton, COVID is.
It is the long-term effects of training too early and too hard when the virus is still in the system can be career-ending. We can see a few riders the past few years, as we see Sam Welsford now with his interview.
Sam Welsford, congrats on your 3rd place. What went wrong in the final?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a pretty hectic run-in. We had to come from quite deep, and I think I went through the last corner, maybe like 2 stacked 6th or 7th wheel, so a little bit far back for this sprint. And I had Dylan like 2 wheels in front of me, so I knew I had to try go early to try to get the run on him. But he's super fast, and I had a good run, but eventually pushed too much wind in the final and got pipped on the line for 3rd. So yeah, not a bad result. I think I've had a bit of a break from racing since Roubaix, so it's good to kind of get back on and get straight back on the podium. But you always want to be on the top step.
It was quite chaotic in the final lap. Did you see any of the crashes?
No. Yeah, it was super chaotic. You hear a lot of stuff going on behind you. I heard a couple of falls, unfortunately. I hope everyone's all right. Unfortunately, it's a part of racing in these, one-day races, and some people are fresh going in. So there was like, 8 or 10 lead-out trains all fighting for the same spot. So eventually something's going to happen. But yeah, lucky enough, all our guys are okay. I think they got caught up in a few crashes, but they're all right.
3rd place isn't that bad. What are your upcoming goals?
Yeah, it's okay. As a sprinter, you always want to be on the top step, but it's just all about, making sure that you're consistently up the top there, and hopefully a bit of luck on your side, you can get back on the top step. A race tomorrow at Ronde Kuhn, and then hopefully some stage races coming up, and we see what that develops into the next couple months. Yeah, really excited just to keep continuing the way we're riding as a team. It's been really motivating and really strong showing how we can work together so well.
Will we see you in the Tour as well?
I'm not sure yet. Fingers crossed. I would love to do the Tour. It's such an awesome race, and it's been a dream of mine as a kid. So we see how we go. We see how we develop in the next couple of races, and yeah, fingers crossed again.
Good luck. Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
What a development this guy has gone through, like you said, Ian, from one of the absolute top suitors of the world to, on his way to being one of the top sprinters.
He showed some really good speed, and yeah, like he said in his interview, just came from a little bit too far back and took a little bit too much wind before Groenewegen even had to open his sprint up. So he did a good ride on the podium. He's going to be fairly happy with that. Like he said, as we see some highlights now from today.
Yes, the Veenendaal Classic 2023. We had 6 guys in the breakaway, 6 Dutch guys, with Bodie Del Grosso, Rick Ottema, Wouter van der Weerthof, Axel van der Tuuk, Bjorn Bakker and Max Kroone. Sadly, we also had crashes, as so often happen, with Matt Bostock involved there. Intermarché Circus 1T tried to split the race in a little bit of crosswind action here with Mike Teunissen as our breakaway defended a very marginal lead of a minute and a bit for most of the race. Actually, they were never really granted a big lead, the 6 riders at the front. Another crash as well. The road narrows just a little bit. Hopefully everybody comes away with just a few scrapes and bruises and no fractures will be diagnosed. Lovely green pastures here. The horses are a little bit scared of the helicopter. This is the final time up the Grebbeberg, and out of our breakaway of 6, the strongest man remained with Rick Ottema and Max Kronen. And then we go for the bunch sprint with Alpecin de Koning riding for Marečko. Welsford trying to find a wheel. We have Groenewegen latched onto that wheel of Marečko into the final 400 meters, and then the final sprint onto a very wide road. An early lead out, or very late lead out actually, by Taminiau. Marečko on the inside, Groenewegen through the middle, and Arvid de Klein also moving up there in black for Tudor, but it's going to be a 5th win for Dylan Groenewegen in Veenendaal. 2015, 2016, 2018, 2022 and 2023. He is the king of Veenendaal. Really wanted to race here and now is going to gradually prepare for the Tour de France to add, well, possibly another stage win to his already impressive palmares. Groenewegen ahead of De Klein, Welsford, Marečko and Moschetti. That is the top 5. Jarne van der Paar going through your screen as well. Timothy Dupont in yellow and black is the top 7 of today. And indeed, Mason does get himself a trip to the podium. He looks a little bit shy there, Ian, but if Daddy holds his hand, he might want to try it.
I think he's not quite convinced, is he?
He's not really ready. He's been on podiums before, Mason has, I do know that. I had an interview the other day with a mother in the peloton, Lotta Hentela. Her son is just over 1 year, and of course both her parents race, Jonas Hentela and Lotta Hentela. And she said, well, he's not really aware of what we do, but still, when we take out our bikes and we pump our tires, he wants to do that as well, or he starts to pump the tires of his stroller. So the kids, they do see what mum and dad does. They want to put on helmets and stuff like that. So they really grow up with cycling. But what I quite often read, Ian, when they ask parents in cycling, do you want your kid to be a pro cyclist? Like, for example, the other day with Cameron van der Broeke and Tim Merlier. Yeah, we wouldn't mind, but we prefer not to. It's what most parents say.
To be honest, I've got a 7-month-old and I'm probably in the same category. It's, I think when you've done it, you know how hard it is, you know the sacrifice involved, and yeah, it can be tough at times. Certainly thinking about it from a selfish point of view, do I want to go and stand in a cold, wet pit and pit for them? Probably not. So if they want to take up an indoor summer sport or a
handball,
nice, exactly, which isn't very big in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's I think it's just when you know what goes into becoming a professional cyclist, it's many hours of training, and yeah, it can be tough at times.
We just saw Marcel Sieberg, of course, the lead-out man for André Greipel, the team director at Tudor. Another lead-out, another man from that lead-out, that infamous lead-out of André Greipel, Greg Henderson, is the sports director, Bolton Equities Black Spoke. And if you go through the list, there's a whole array of former pros now behind the wheel of the team car. You can see two youth riders of AXA Vallei-renners, the club from Ede, which is not that far from here, on the podium. What a great moment for them. And that jersey and their sponsor, Ian, has been the same for at least the past 20 years for that club team from Ede Wageningen. It's never changed. It's really great.
That's cool to see some good local history in the kids cycling club.
Welsford in third.
De man uit de regio, uit Herveld, rijdend voor Tudor Pro Cycling. Een geweldig applaus voor Arvid de Klein.
Second place there for Arvid de Klein. Coming back from a COVID infection. So he was happy with that second place, but of course it's always a little bit double feeling. Of course he comes to these races to win, but his first race back in almost 2 months, coming in second, well, of course it gives him confidence for the races to come. Tudor, of course, not racing the Tour de France, but they will be racing some big races coming up, including, of course, the Tour of Switzerland next month. But racing the Tour de France, he already confirmed it, is Dylan Groenewegen and Mason, who's having a little bit of a tantrum moment there, right there. Off to mum you go. And interesting enough, Ian, Sam Welsford, he didn't really want to confirm just yet if the team are going to send him to the Tour de France.
No, interesting that hasn't been confirmed yet to him, or whether that's kind of being kept hush-hush by the team, whether he's going to go or not. So, yeah, you'd have thought, like you said, only kind of 6-7 weeks out from the start of the tour, you'd have thought, from a training point of view, him and his coach would, yeah, want to know the direction that the next few weeks need to go in to get him in the best possible shape at the start of the tour.
Well, a great podium, and actually our 3 biggest favourites actually on the podium, so a good guess by us as well. Dylan Groenewegen, Arvid de Klein and Sam Welsford. Tomorrow Ian and I will be back with a very special race called the Antwerp Port Epic, the former Schalzels. Last year we had a very interesting situation with the 2 Vermeers in first and second. Florian in first and Jenny Vermeers in second. Thibaut Nys was also in the top 10. Timo Kili, Gerbert Thijssen, well, a big race tomorrow with a lot of cyclocross riders. Again, we have a lot of off-road coming up, a lot of gravel. Yeah, absolutely a race to look forward to tomorrow here on GCN Plus, Discovery Plus and Eurosport. So do join us tomorrow and just watch it back on our digital platforms when you do have the time, because Monday there's no races, so plenty of time to watch back some exciting races of this weekend. I think this concludes it, Ian. I'll see you again tomorrow for some off-road tactics and how to ride gravel.
I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's race. It's always such a spectacle and produces some great racing along the way, so expecting nothing but the same tomorrow.
Well, see you tomorrow then here from Antwerp Port Epic. This concludes Veenendaal with another, a 5th win for this man, Dylan Groenewegen, and the medal. Well, the medal goes to Mason.
En Max krijgt die prijs uitgereikt door Bart Voskamp. Er wordt nog een speciale knoptijd van Victoria. Max Kroon. De felicitaties van koersdirecteur Bart Voskamp. En een geweldig applaus voor Max Kroon.
Most combative rider, our last remaining rider of the breakaway, Max Kroon, gets the Victoria Tires Award.
Op deze schitterende editie van Veenendaal. Veenendaal, gaan we even bij burgemeester Gert-Jan Kans. We staan hier op het podium op het einde van een bijzonder geslaagde...
Well, that was it. Thanks for watching on behalf of Ian Field and myself, Jose Bain. The classification, Sam Welsford has moved up to 2nd in the Lotto Cycling Cup. Dylan Groenewegen enters the top 10 in 4th. We continue tomorrow with the Lotto Cycling Cup with Antwerp Port Epic. So we'll see you tomorrow, or as we say in the Netherlands, tot morgen.